you share your names and I guess as best as you can, everything that you do currently.
Wow. Do you want to start?
Go ahead.
My name is Victoria Bragg. Do you want me to introduce yourself? Eric Bragg.
Eric Bragg, yes.
Okay. And same last name, so you're married, right?
Absolutely. 18 years.
Wow. 18 years?
Yeah.
I cannot tell. Yeah, y'all look young, honestly.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so your business name is you do accounting and then
Right.
you do music, right?
Yes,
so what's
recording studio.
Okay, what's the names of each of those?
The bookkeeping business is Sunrise Bookkeeping.
Okay.
And the studio?
Studios, Fountain Square House.
Okay. And that's right out of Fort Smith, right? Or it's
It
on the
actually
line.
started in Indianapolis in Fountain Square.
Oh.
So that's actually where I started my business. I was actually recording local groups and supporting them as well. And I was actually building a studio out of an old, half dilapidated church building.
Oh, wow.
Historical church building.
Yes, it was built in 1885, and it had several owners before I bought it. And I never actually finished it, but I did use it while I was there for starting my business. So I ran it out of a kind of a one-room studio. And
You could tell him why you didn't finish it.
Victoria, yeah.
Oh.
I was from Southeast Oklahoma, not born, but raised in
Okay.
Southeast Oklahoma, and was recording an album in Fort Smith at one of the studios at the time on Rogers Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And gosh, met you through my church friend, now mother-in-law. And she said, you need to meet my son. And I started like emailing him to get tips on his studio stuff.
That is so fun.
And then before we know it, he gets an opportunity to go to work at the studio that I was recording at. And he moved all his stuff to Fort Smith and we got married
Wow.
in a nutshell.
What year was this?
2000, it was 2005 when we met and started dating. And I moved out here in 2006.
Okay.
And we got married pretty much as soon as I moved out here.
Okay.
So
Which one of you had the creative music touch first, you think? Have you ever even talked about this amongst each other?
Oh, what a question.
we were both doing music on our own before we met. I mean, since we were kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Give us some years. Let's see who started younger.
Okay. Well, we just talked about this like a few days ago. I can officially say I've been playing the guitar now for over 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm going to give my age now, but that's okay because I was pretty proud of it this year. I turned 60 this year.
What?
I did. So I started playing the guitar at 9 years old.
Okay. Wow. Wow. That's a long time.
That's what I said. I said I should be a professional. I need to be doing something else.
What about you? What can you remember?
my dad had bought an organ. I think I was about 8 years old. So I got you beat.
Well, I had an organ.
Okay.
4 years old or 5. Yeah.
Okay.
The kind where you push
So
the
that's
little
kind of where
cord
I
thing.
started. We had organs in the house, and I would dink around on those, and he'd keep buying bigger organs, and I was the one in the house that played them the most. And then we got a piano, and even though it was simpler, there was something about the sound of the piano that I just didn't even touch the organ anymore. I just had to have the piano, and of course, I just played by ear. My mother signed me up for lessons, and that never really went well because I wouldn't bother looking at the book until the day of, we got a lesson today. And I'd sit down and I'd look at my fingers and I would play and I would memorize it, and then I would just play it. And then I'd go to the lesson and the teacher would say, "Oh, he's doing so well, my mom. He's not learning how to read like he's supposed to." So she pulled me out. So that's kind of how that didn't go so well.
What was your next instrument that you learned? So it was the first one you got was organ, then you went to piano, then where'd you go from there?
Really nowhere else. When I was when we moved to Coweta in Oklahoma, I had some keyboards and I played in a band, and that was my thing there. But I really never panned out to anything other than bass guitar, which I play
Which you're playing now.
now. Yeah. But I don't consider myself that great on really any instrument. I just kind of, I think I was probably at my peak as far as playing the keys when I had joined the Air Force and got a band going. And
In the Air Force?
in the Air Force. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And everybody that was in the band was a lot better than I was. And so I was being pushed to learn a lot in a small amount of time. And I did. In fact, I was playing all the things that we were playing, all the songs that other bands weren't doing. The Styx and Kansas and, Pink Floyd, the old, I'm dating
Yes.
myself here, but it was the type of music that nobody that we knew of was actually willing to play because it was so extravagant and different and difficult. And
Yes.
we were like, yeah, we could do this good. So,
Plus, it wasn't very well known in where you were stationed at either, right?
well, it was, we were playing in the Air Force clubs and they knew the music really well. And in fact, I was stationed in England, and over there, the music was, I wanted to go to England because that was the rock capital of the world. That was Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and all these great bands came from. And when I arrived, we were listening to the radio, and I was really let down because they played a lot of old, simple stuff. And as far as American music, they played Elvis, they played some Madonna, they played Billy Joel, Michael Jackson.
Okay.
So they were real popular.
Yeah. I was thinking about when you were talking about, getting the band started in the Air Force. And obviously, because we're out here in Chaffee, I was thinking of Elvis, and I was like, I wonder, did that kind of trickle over into your life at all because of everything going on then with, obviously him being so famous with his music, then going to the Army?
Well, not because of the military, but my mom was a big Elvis fan. So when we were kids, we heard a lot of Elvis. And so I was exposed to that. And there was a lot of Elvis songs that I have always appreciated. So yes, my earlier years. And I just want to say that I didn't have anything wrong with I said we were let down, but they just played those three so much that we got tired of hearing them. And the only other music they played was a lot of local British stuff. And at the time in that area, it really wasn't very good music.
Okay. And so it wasn't necessarily due with what the culture was providing. It was just that it was actually not like the quality of American music at the time.
That's probably true. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's very fair to say.
Yeah.
America has always been had more resources, and especially when it comes to the ability to even pursue creative arts in any way. Like it's a lot easier, and it always has been to do here.
Yeah.
What was your second instrument you picked up after you said guitar? Was
Guitar.
at 9? What
at
came
9.
after?
I was 13 when I started playing the banjo. Now, I'm on totally different spectrum than he is.
Okay.
He's like Pink Floyd. I'm,
We played rock. You did the country. and
I did totally country
folk.
and folk, yeah. But I picked up the banjo at 13 years old. And then by 15, we were traveling the bluegrass circuit
Wow.
all over Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas. So that's how I spent all my high school years playing bluegrass.
That is so cool. I bet you had some cool experiences during that.
Well, bluegrass, definitely. That's a very family-oriented music, big festivals, things like that. I was a very introverted child, though, and it took everything I had to perform.
Okay.
But I was good. First of all, a girl playing the banjo was kind of unique in that era, And then I just picked it up naturally. So.
So within your teen years, what was probably one of the biggest events that you got to perform at, people numbers wise, I guess?
Well, in numbers wise, I don't know. That's a hard question because we did festivals every weekend.
Oh, wow.
We traveled a lot in the summertime,
Okay.
and those would attract hundreds and thousands sometimes. But I know you're probably thinking of Iowa, but that was the teen years. Right, the year that Eric and I met, I traveled with a lady that was inducted into the Old Time Country Music Hall of Fame
Oh, really?
in Iowa. And
Okay.
it was a international event.
Okay.
So I got to play banjo for her, and we were playing like 8 stages a day for her and going all, but they had there were 40,000 bluegrass people there from all over the world.
Wow.
So that was some of the biggest.
Well, when it comes to music, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because y'all are the experts here, but it seems like Iowa comes up quite a bit when you're talking about like certain genres of music, and country is one of them. I think I've seen a lot of artists online who are from there or who like, is that true at all?
I couldn't answer that.
Yeah.
This event was crazy. That's the first time not the first time I've been to Iowa, but the first time to an event like that. And it was like out in the middle of a cornfield, and you
wow.
drive up and there's just thousands of people there. So I'll say this, when they put on an event, they go all out.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. When did you move to Arkansas, and what did you move to Arkansas from? Or either you're both not from here?
No.
No.
Okay. So how'd you end up in Fort Smith, Arkansas?
Well,
You
meeting her
Yes.
brought me out here. And she was actually here because she was recording her album. But you lived in Eufaula at the time, right?
Yeah. I was southeast Oklahoma.
Oh, okay. How far is that from here?
About an hour and a half. Not too far.
Okay.
Not too far.
Yeah. I bet it was really cool for you to be able to travel young and get a perspective about the world that you maybe wouldn't have had.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The experience. I mean, that set a footprint for me for my music for the rest of my life.
So during that time, what did you think you would be doing once it was coming towards graduation and you're traveling? Did you think you would continue in music, or were you going to go to school for something else? Did you go to school for something else? Like, what did that time look like for you?
Well, looking back, what I wished I would have happened, and my parents, I was raised on the farm, so they didn't have a real broad mindset. All they knew was go to work, get a job. So that's what I did. But there was a bluegrass college at that time around Dallas. And looking back, had I really pursued it, that's what I wish I would have done, could have done. But instead, went to work, got married, not all in that order, maybe in that order, to my first husband, and still followed music. We moved to Texas to follow the oil field and did that for several years where the work was, but still followed my music. Played with a lot of bands through the years.
And what did your teen life look like with music?
My teen life?
Long hair.
Yeah, long hair, parted down the middle, feathered back.
Oh, man.
Yeah, my hair down to my shoulders at least. Yeah. Yeah, I was I was the sore spot on my dad's side. We played rock, music, and I remember sitting at the piano one day playing the same songs over and over again, and he walked in and said, "I want you to get off that piano. You and your long-haired hippie friends are, good for nothing. You need to do something with your life," and gave me this shakedown thing. And
Just like every movie, right?
yeah, it was
what I was
kind of
gonna
a
say.
cliche. I actually kind of rebelled a little bit, and when he was gone, I spent more time at the piano when he was gone. But
He'll probably
certain
listen
words,
to this.
certain words still sank in, and I decided I was going to get into electronics and engineering, and so I did. I pursued that. I mean, the first thing I did was join the Air Force and get into technology because they had a plan for saving money for college. I thought that's how I'm going to do it, and I did. I spent 4 years in the Air Force, 3 of those overseas in England. And then that opened some doors for me to the world that really I needed. I could see things from a different perspective. And
Where you grew up, was that small town? Okay.
Coweta was a small town. It's actually about an hour, about 45 minutes from Tulsa.
Okay.
It's kind of the Broken Arrow. You know where Broken Arrow is? Okay, it's not very. If you go to Broken Arrow, go a little further, you wind up in Coweta. So
Most of your childhood was small town, though, because your dad traveled.
yes, I was born actually in Arlington, Texas.
Oh, okay.
So
I knew exactly where that is.
Okay.
Yeah, when we were living in Texas, we moved back in December, but the first place we moved was Mansfield, which is literally like 9 miles up the road from Six Flags on Highway 360. So right there by Arlington, and the new stadium that they built for like I forgot what it's called, the Dallas Cowboy Stadium. Yes, right over there. So that's cool. So you said you were.
I was born there, but I don't remember much of it because we moved around every couple of years.
What? Military family?
No, Kmart management.
Oh.
My dad actually worked for SS Kresge before it became Kmart, and it was a little dime store.
Wow.
And he worked up to management, and he was good at what he did. And they moved every time they had a bigger store open up that they needed cleaned up. He was the guy they sent in because he could be hard, hey, get these people out, and let's bring in more people. And he dealt with the problems that were difficult, apparently. So
I'm so sorry. You have to help me out because I'm young and I barely remember Kmart. Was it? It wasn't it was a gas station?
No, it was a small dime store, which is it's like what do they have? What do they used to have that was close to that?
Ben Franklin.
Ben Franklin.
Oh gosh,
Okay.
now
Seen
we're
those?
really aging ourselves. Yes.
Yeah.
No.
No, you haven't seen those. No. Okay, so you walk in and it has all the little stuff. They had one bar on one side that had, you could order those old
sodas,
shakes and sodas, and they had the old machine.
Oh my goodness!
On Back to the Future, those kind of things.
Listen, someone who's watching is geeking out with you guys right now, and they're laughing at me like, "Oh, he's a baby. He has no idea."
You go straight to the back, and they had fish tanks and animals and stuff. You could buy yourself a parrot or a bird or a dog.
What?
Yeah, and then they had all the toys and stuff on one lane.
One-stop shop.
So it's like
everything.
a general appliance, general needs store, kind of like a scaled down Walmart of sorts.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Sam Walton built his model off of one of the, I don't know if it was
similar to
Ben
that.
Franklin, but it was some of the 5 and dime stores.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're saying your dad was managing was a department within this, or was it actually
Well, he worked his way up, and he eventually became manager of one of the stores, and he just did a really good job. And so they moved him to other stores, and then the stores would get bigger, and then they started building malls, the indoor malls, and they put SS Kresge in there. Then they decided to make it larger, and they called it Kmart, and they were still inside the malls. Well, then the department stores started coming out and breaking out, being on their own because they had so much more, and that's where Kmart kind of spread out. And he did that, every so many years. Like I said, we're always moving.
It's where Brick City's at now. It's where they
used to be a Kmart.
used to be a Kmart.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it hasn't been that long.
I feel like most of them are turned into like Fred's or Dollar Generals or things like that. But that's interesting.
Yeah, they kind of went out of business. Yeah.
So you went to the military, then you went to school, and I guess you saved up all your money from the military or from the Air Force, excuse me. And then where did you go to school, and what did you go to school for?
I went to Purdue University and to be electrical engineering, and got my degree out there. It took me a little while to get it because I'm not Mr. Smart Pants, I have to spend all my time studying, but having already spent those early years in the Air Force, I got all the party out of me. So I was ready to sit down and study, which I did. And if I hadn't, I would have never made it. But intense math. But I got through that, and then I got out into the field and started working as a programmer for, I started actually with Rockwell Collins is what they called it. Before that, it was Rockwell Radio, and I think they've been bought out since then. It was Raytheon or some other, something similar to that.
Was that actually Iowa?
And that was in Iowa, yeah.
Okay. So both of you went to school and it wasn't for music. What was music in your mind as you're going through these classes and schools? What is that dream of? Actually, let me go back. What was the dream? Did you ever have a dream when you were younger, you're playing, you're being disobedient to your father, banging on that piano? What was the dream?
I wanted to be a rock star. Rock star. I was full of myself too. So probably a good thing it never happened.
Good thing you had Dad there to say you're going to school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you?
Sure it was.
I never really thought about dreaming, to be honest. I was just always kind of flowed through life. And when an opportunity presents itself and looks good, it's like, I'll do that. I did go to Votech. I didn't go to regular college. I've got a few hours, but I did go to Votech thinking, I'll do some of that. So I got a 2-year degree in instructional technology or certificate.
And do you think that's just because, and I think you mentioned this earlier, that's just the culture back then? You don't really think about, pursuing these ideas that aren't traditional ways of work.
Right.
Is that kind of what it was? Did any of that have to do with that?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's partly culture and partly we have to look at the era that our parents were in, because my parents were actually a lot older than even yours are. But even your parents' mindsets are like that. They're in their 70s and 80s now. Mine would have been over 100 years old. And so, that culture was, they didn't know how to ask you what your dream is.
Yes.
If they did, they were far and few between, I think.
Okay. Well, what was your mindset then, going back to that question, during school when you're going around music? Was it still something that was just on the back burner, but you don't like, just isn't giving you a lot of time for it right now?
Yeah. If it's not a dream, it's a passion. When I look back at it and go, music was always a passion.
Okay.
And I always was looking for it somewhere, as an outlet.
I was still trying to find a way. When I got into college, by that point, I understood that to make it in fame and fortune in music was a long shot, and I thought I need to make this a business somehow. So that's kind of how I started thinking about creating a studio, and I didn't really have much time while I was in college for music, so I didn't. I had to spend all my time studying, so. It wasn't until I was out in the field that I decided to start a studio on the side. And that's kind of how I got that going in Indiana. By the time I moved to Indianapolis, so
okay. And you produce, correct?
Yes.
When did you start producing?
Started producing in 2003 when I was out there. I started by taking some local bands and just working with them, just giving them my time, and ran live sound for them, created some music recordings for them, and kind of got myself out there. And then I started working with another lady who was working with the Indianapolis men's and women's choirs. Actually, men's and women's choruses, they call themselves. So she had the exclusive recording contract and live sound. And so she started working with me on that, and we kind of split them up. She said, they're too much. You take the men, I'll take the women. And that's how I got into that genre. And I did some recordings for jazz. I got into classical and that kind of thing. So
when it comes to things like music or really any type of creative arts, one of the things that young people, older people, middle-aged people struggle with is turning that passion into a business, like what you said. So what did that look like for you, specifically when it transitioned from, hey, I'm producing a song for my friend, to hey, I'm producing a song for a client? How did you do that specifically? Or even for you, like doing a gig where it's like, hey, maybe I go perform at a birthday party with a family member. Now I'm going to perform at a venue. How did you transition from those different moments?
Well, the venues kind of came through mentors, basically, because whoever was the man that was teaching me how to play my instruments, he traveled in a band with his parents. So they just adopted me, and I went everywhere that they went. So the venues were always just part of it. There wasn't really a transition. They just said, you're coming along. And they basically taught me on the fly, when we would be performing. When I think about the studio and the transition of you going, because I was involved at the time you actually transitioned to do with clients. We had already melded ourselves and put kind of a business plan together. We thought we were being partners with some other folks at a studio there in Fort Smith, and that fell through. And then we just absolutely transitioned the whole thing into our home. And
Wow.
So we're home based, and the clients kind of came with us at that point.
And we built our own home, and we built the studio into it. So all the soundproofing and everything I had learned in college when I was in engineering school, one of the classes I took was in acoustics, because we had to have mechanical engineering as one of the
So your engineering
So my
has played
engineering,
in.
that's right. It was in acoustics, which is sound is a mechanical engineering
Wow.
thing. So
I had no idea. So acoustic treating, like if someone comes in and acoustically treats your space, that goes into mechanical engineering. Like that's the category.
that's the basic category of engineering. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
Never would have
mechanical.
known. I guess I would have thought maybe like architecture or something like that, because there's a lot of like building and like ways that you're developing a structure so that the way the voices or the sounds bounce off of it.
There's probably some cross compatible. I don't know. If cross compatible is the right word. Cross
Yeah.
classes you'd probably have to take if you're in architecture.
Okay.
That you may have to take some engineering. I don't know how they do that, but
You learned a lot when you built our studio, though. I think that you've moved into helping other clients do their own acoustic treatment,
I did.
Okay.
and that he learned actually building our house.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to build the studio? Is it still
That's a loaded
going?
question. Because to
Let's
this
see.
day, it's not totally
We're
been
still
finished.
going.
Yeah.
I'll give you a quick story. One of the engineers that I was working with, while we were building the house, he was working in Nashville, and he called me up one day and said, "Hey, I've got a band coming into Fort Smith, and I moved back out here, at least temporarily." He said, "We need a place to record. Are you ready?" I said, "No." I said, "I have." He said, "What about your? I thought you were building a studio." I said, "Yeah, right now it's an empty basement, all concrete walls." He goes, "Is there any way you can do it?" I said, "This is an emergency." I said, "I'll tell you what. I'll tape up a bunch of insulation, on the walls, and it'll at least stop the echo, and we can go from there." He goes, "Fine, set it up. I'm bringing him over." I said, "Okay." So that's I had the drum room, which is about 20 feet, octagon.
Oh, wow.
And we had a bunch of pads. I stuck them up on the walls and real thick stuff, Mm-hmm. And he sat in there with his little laptop and had the drummer and a bass player and guitarist, I guess, in the same room. And he had the singer in the vault, which is a room behind there with the door shut. And he tracked them all, and he did all the stuff after he went home, and that was the first official
Wow.
recording we had there. From that point, I had done a lot of work on it. But we started getting phone calls because the place that we had worked previously had shut down, and they were looking for me. It's like,
Okay.
"Do you have a place?" I was like, "Well, oh yeah, we're not finished, but we'll do something." And so from that point, I just stayed busy. It was crazy. It would, every time I had a project that needed to be done, it's like God was bringing somebody in and giving us the money to finish it out. And we'd do that, and we just kept building and building. And so in my mind, my approach was kind of like they say, build it and they will come, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
He's still building.
Yeah, so I still have some improvements I need to do, but it's mostly fleshed out. So
Okay.
Well, there's so many avenues that the studio itself goes with. I mean, when you think, most people will think when they think recording studio, they think they go in, sing their song, and it's done. And probably that it just doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
There's so many levels to it. And then from there, as far as other things you can offer, Eric offers the transferring the old formats, because now we're out of the cassette era and of course the album. He transfers vinyls to digital.
we have
wow.
reel to reels.
And
People bring in. Mm-hmm.
there's still some reel to reels out there that people will show up, especially in this area, because there's been a lot of, because of the military, they transferred, that's how they communicated.
Wow.
They sent the old reel to reel back and forth to
Yeah,
people that were in the service.
You've got it's a
They're
museum
historical.
Okay.
right over here.
Yes.
And World War II. And they've actually brought me some of their tapes to reels to record.
Oh, wow.
So
Convert.
they've got them, their MP3s, and they run them on their machines now. So when people come in, they can watch real people talking about what's going on, at that moment. You can hear the old biplanes going overhead and all kinds of stuff. It's pretty
That's
neat.
cool.
Very
That's really
good.
cool.
But to get all that archived into digital, most people don't like to send those kind of projects off somewhere. So that really worked out well for us too. So that became a part of the studio. He's got a whole room that he does that in.
Okay. So, I mean, what all do you offer at the studio then, I guess?
Well, we consider ourselves full production. So we do audiobooks, obviously recordings. We have access to, I think, the finest musicians in the state, some of them at least. And so we hire in session musicians if they need them. We do most genres of music. I don't know where else to go. We started doing some not podcasts like you're doing, but
Like just audio podcasts?
Interviews and that kind of thing.
Video interviews.
For people like worship leaders and other musicians mostly. So
Okay. How big is your space there?
we have 1,800 square feet.
Okay.
We have a portion of that is the lounge, which is what we're actually using to do the videos. But the control room is immediately above the drum room. So it's a 20 by 20 room. And then we have small booths and that kind of thing kind of scattered. And then a couple of offices in the back. So,
Wow. And so that's where you are day in, day out.
yeah.
Wow.
We're talking big man cave.
Yeah.
Big.
So whenever he comes in and he leaves something laying around, you're like, you got a place for this, dude.
Oh, yeah. It gets tossed in the store.
Yeah.
That's how it was with my wife when I took over the entire garage for my studio. It's like, what are you doing with this camera in here on a dining room table? You got a whole garage where I can't park my car. Go put it in there.
Yeah. I feel her pain.
Okay. So he's there all day, but you aren't, and you're doing the bookkeeping. When did that start?
It's funny because I just thought about how this all merged together. I thought, how does this bookkeeping even come into our music? But when we had the studio, when we were partnered with a studio in Fort Smith, one of the accountants taught me how to keep the books for the studio there. And that's where my bookkeeping all started. And after that studio closed and we moved on, he kind of helped me. He suggested, that particular accountant did, that I just go out on my own and do contract work for a while. So I did.
Wow.
And started doing just people's business, taking it on as a contract worker.
What did you enjoy about it that made you say yes to that advice from him?
I have no idea, because a musician and bookkeeping is on two different ends of the spectrum. And any kind of personality test or anything that I've been through for leadership training and stuff, they're like, this doesn't even match up. And I said, I know. But I totally love the organization of it. And, I think the passion of it, really, the root of it all is helping others get organized.
Okay.
And find their way through murky waters that I had to find my way through with no help.
Yes.
And learn that the finances were absolutely a foundation of a business, while we're all chasing our passions. And I've done that with music, and we've done that. There had to be this, this other thing called money, and how do you organize and how do you steward your gift? You're actually stewarding your gift through those finances.
What type of? Oh, sorry, no, go for
I was
it.
going to say, I also believe that there's a certain amount of appreciation for creativity in the analysis of numbers, because when this is
I feel like I'm in therapy.
Interesting.
Go ahead.
when I was in college,
Okay.
the art department would have a contest every year, and they allowed anybody to join it. And they said that the art students were really angry about that because it was the engineering students that would always take first place. And they said the reason was because that creativity in that mind was also made them very meticulous in their art. And so there's probably something, I'm just guessing, maybe
That's
there's
interesting. A transference from the neck of a guitar to QuickBooks. I don't know how it works, but there's something there. And
I mean, you're using your fingers on both all day.
And what's so unique about that is I never learned music theory
Oh,
because
okay.
I really wasn't interested. Believe me, I tried. I moved from the bluegrass to classical not very long ago, probably about 10 years ago. And they tried to teach me.
Okay.
Poor guy. I love Greg Jones. He's one of our best musicians in Fort Smith. And he tried to teach me theory. But I came from that place where I just kind of wanted to be a free bird on it, do what I wanted to do. So
Yeah.
So it's funny because the music the numbers are analytical and they're precise and you have to have such detail, but my music, not so much.
What type of accounts do you work on?
What type of accounts?
Or will you take on clients?
And I want to do a shout out to my partner, Angie Nandavong. She's my partner in Sunrise Bookkeeping.
And she's in Northwest Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's local. And we are passionate for the small entrepreneur. Yeah, 20 employees or less, service type people
Okay.
that are doing services. We kind of lean away from the inventory people, retail if possible. But we love our service people
Okay.
that are providing that service for you, that you need, like you do.
Yeah.
Like in your video and things like that.
When it comes to how many people you can actually service, do you kind of have a cap? Or have you even been there yet to even figure that out?
Yeah, haven't been there yet to really figure it out. We have a goal, we have a vision, and that would be to have no more than 5 employees. We don't want to grow that big yet.
Okay.
I don't think we even want to get that big, to be honest.
How many can both of you just take on?
About 20.
20 total? Okay.
Yeah, and properly really give them our attention like we want to. But we already have 3 bookkeepers on staff.
Oh.
And we're growing. They're actually entrepreneurs of their own because they all work from home.
Okay.
And we basically help them grow their businesses.
Okay.
So we're scaling them.
Okay.
The more accounts we take on, the better off they do too.
And how many accounts do you have now?
25?
Okay.
Yep.
And your goal is for this year is, do you have one set for this year? How many you would like to do?
Oh, gosh, that's a really good question too. We have dollars set for this year.
Okay. Yeah. Sales goals.
Yeah.
Okay.
But depending on it, I don't know how many accounts that would be.
Yeah. 'Cause every business is different.
And it's real important in the small businesses, and we're helping them with that too, because I can bring some wisdom to the table just from past experience. And that is to always keep the goals out in front of you and have goals. First of all, set your goals. And then how big do you want to get? We've had to look at that kind of things. And then Angie and I have actually sat down and given ourselves positions in our little company. Her and I can service 20 accounts, but we're moving ourselves into different positions in the company. She's the CEO. I'm the marketing director. I'm going more into consulting and helping businesses make their path and keeping them organized while our bookkeepers will do more of the data input for us.
Okay. That's
So we
awesome.
kind of, take ourselves out of the grind and put ourselves in our real gifts, which is she loves staying behind the scenes and doing all kinds of documents. She's great at detail. I am not. I'm good with the numbers on detail and the organization, but she loves spreadsheets and our documents that it takes for us to operate. And I love going to get the people. This is my favorite part right here.
Talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You meet me in networking groups, you know it.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Fort Smith Coffee Co. again for morning mugs.
Absolutely.
Okay. When it comes to the studio, it's just you two, correct?
Yeah, well, sort of. I do have a couple of contractors
Okay.
come in. But I need help.
Now, we briefly talked about this before, but at some point you did implement internships or sorts. How did that come up? How did that start? And how has that gone so far? And where are you at with that now?
First internship I created was at the studio when I first moved out here with in partners with the other guys. And I spent a lot of time on it, building it up. And we actually did classroom training and theories and electronics to understand how things work. And then, of course, there was a lot of hands-on and software use and the console, et cetera. And I think I've only had one person get almost all the way through it before the company folded. Because it's a lot more work than a lot of people. They get in there and say, yeah, this is going to be fun. We want to be an intern for a
We're going
studio.
to slide the knobs.
Yeah. And they get in there and we start going into all the theory and they got to do some math. And they're like, well, this isn't what I thought I was going to be. And then they'll head out and then you don't see them again.
Yeah.
It's hard.
So, especially when it comes to editing, as you know, editing can take a lot. So when you have, stacks of audio and everything has to be lined up and synced to time. If you're producing something that is going to be radio ready, it can be a lot of work.
Do you use time code in music?
I do. Well, it's the software I use is actually Cubase, which is very similar to Pro Tools, and I mean they're all kind of similar, but they have a graph. So you have so many seconds. Actually, we use beats per minute, and it'll show you a graph of the beats, and then subsections and that kind of thing. And so I try to, a lot of times if everybody is really tight, and especially if they're just wanting a demo, I'll just cinch things around as needed. But if they're wanting it to be radio ready, it's got to be pretty close to perfect. So I will go through there and tighten everything, every single beat to that grid.
Okay.
So that takes a little time.
Yes.
And then we'll after that's done, then we bring the vocalists in and we'll make sure that what they are, in fact, I usually send it off for them to practice. Then they're practicing with something that is right on key, then right on time. So I forgot what was the question.
Yeah,
the internship.
Yeah. And I was just asking where it is nowadays.
So I have an internship startup once in a while. The last time I started one, it's been a couple of years. I brought in 4 students, and one of them actually hung with it, and he's actually still with me. And so I've been reluctant to start a new one until he is through, because there's only me right now. If I grow to a second engineer, then we could probably have, two classes running, or if I had more items to work. Right now I have one major desk, and then I have one other place where I can do some editing, but it's kind of gets crowded if I try to do too much. So
yes.
I keep it down to just what we have. So right now I haven't been taking any interns. And in fact, I think what I'm probably going to start doing, I hate to have to do it, but I'll probably start renaming it a training thing where people would have to pay a little bit because it's difficult as a small business to get things paid for, bills and that kind of thing. And we don't have a lot of bills. We own all the equipment, but I still have to pay AC and electricity. So, it's part of the business. So we had to charge something.
Yeah.
So next time we start another round, I'm going to try to get a few more students, and we'll go from there and see.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
So.
Well, it could be good marketing as well, is what I'm thinking. Like if, you're doing like more workshop style, and then from that workshop, you promote a training. And from the workshop's open to the community, whatever, come in, we're going to show you very broadly over an hour and a half, music start to finish. Then that takes out some of those people who, like you said before, who came in, who thought they were just going to be pushing knobs. They're gone. Now you have the people who are left who are interested. Now you present them with a price. Some people are going to drop just because it costs. But those people who are left are hopefully more than 3, hopefully more than 4, who are actually going to stick all the way through. And you can document video, photo, all of that, and use that to just promote the studio in general as a full studio, with younger people in there doing things. Because, there's not a lot of studios in the area. And I know like if someone's in Central Arkansas or in Northwest Arkansas, they have studios there already, but sometimes they can be full. And if they know that there's one an hour this way, they may make the drive to come over to produce whatever music they want to do, or even video content that you're getting into. Yeah.
It's true.
That could be, I don't know, pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Same thing with we've talked about bookkeeping too when it comes to videos as well. Just kind of sharing your story like you are today. I think, yeah, I can tell that you are passionate, even though it doesn't make sense, about bookkeeping.
I am. I've asked you before, how do we make bookkeeping exciting? I don't know. But I think it's the excitement comes from your interest in that other entrepreneur and
Yes.
your desire for them to be successful. Because unfortunately, bookkeeping has been just that. You hand your numbers over to an accountant somewhere or a bookkeeper with usually a knot in your stomach because you don't know the outcome of all of it. And having somebody just walk beside you and mentor you through it.
Yes.
That really cares.
That's the other thing that makes, I think, her different. And of course I'm biased because she's my wife, but
Go ahead.
she really does something different than anyone else. And that is they go in there and they analyze what's going on and they offer a lot of in-depth training to the people that they're working with. If they are willing to pay a little extra, because you can really cut yourself in the throat by how you handle your business and also how you claim what you're doing on your taxes. And it's very important to do that. And of course, I was going to say that it's the people it's the very unexciting part of bookkeeping that makes you so successful, because people don't want to deal with it. Like, please. She'll take it and she can take it and lay it out and say, here's really what you need to do. Take this and do this, do that, do that. So
Yeah, because they really are seeking help. Mm-hmm. They just haven't had somebody sit down across the table from them and say, you can do this. And that's where I shine. I
Yeah.
love exhortation, love encouraging folks, no matter where it is, music, church,
Yeah.
bookkeeping, you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, where can people go to be a part of, like if they want to, I don't know, work with you with accounting, where do they go to do that?
Facebook's the best place right now,
Okay.
just under Sunrise Bookkeeping
Okay.
and or my personal one, but we have one out there. We don't have a website right now.
Yeah. So it's Sunrise Bookkeeping on Facebook. Okay. And what about with the studio? If they want to do what, remind me again, what can they come and get done at the studio? And then where do they go to get that done if they want to schedule something with you?
we do everything from, like I said, audiobooks to we can do simple demos. If you just want to play an instrument and sing. We actually do birthday parties. We've done in the past. People come in, bring in their karaoke track. We've had whole girls, come bring their friends, teenage girls or younger, and they'll come in and make a little recording and bring it to school and play it with all their friends. And we'll do everything from there up to the full album. I usually have it mastered with a friend of mine that's in Pennsylvania. He's a master engineer. That's all he does. He's done that all his life, basically. He's really good at it. And then, of course, we can refer them to the graphics arts and that kind of thing, and they have to take that into consideration. And we can actually put all that together for them.
Distribution.
And the distribution, yes. Either CD Baby, DistroKid, those are, ways to get your music out there, because people aren't really buying CDs anymore,
Yeah.
right? So
The website is
yeah, we have a website. It's fountainsquarehouse.com.
Okay.
And that's, we're on Facebook too, but the easiest way to get a hold of us is there's a contact at the bottom of the page. Hit that and you can fill out a form and it goes straight to my email. So,
And then he also has a YouTube channel through Fountain Square that hosts his music that
Yes.
you've done individually.
I did want you to give a little shout out to your albums, because you sent me a link. What are those albums that you've done, that each of you done, where they can go find online? What's the name of them?
so Victoria has a couple, she has one single that she released called Bring on the Dance. That was about 10 years ago.
Yeah. But in the Holy of Holies is out there too. I have a couple of singles.
Right. Holy of Holies is a song that she's released more recently. We had a full orchestra
Several of our Fort Smith Symphony musicians helped us on that one.
Wow.
I should say
so
it
it's
sounds
cool.
like a full orchestra, but we cheated. It's actually
Thanks to your production.
we had a cellist, violinist, a violist, and double bass, string bass came in, and we had Terry Bailey from the university. She scores the music, and I sent her what I wanted her to do. She wrote scores for all the musicians, brought them in, and we brought them in the studio, and she directed, and we recorded 7 layers with an array of microphones, and then worked on it from there. So it's pretty big sounding.
Wow.
It's big.
That sounds really cool.
And most recently, I am still releasing an album. It's a 10-song album. It's called The Confessions of Ephesus. And it's based on, it's actually a journey through the letter to the Ephesians by Paul. And the whole letter is taken because there's so much power and authority in what he wrote to that church in that letter, that everything has been reworded to be a declaration over the self and sung out loud, and either declaration or prayer. There were several Holy Spirit inspired prayers that were in there, and so those are put to music, and it's rock, So for people who appreciate rock, then hopefully they would appreciate that. There's one song that actually is going to be a very slow song, the only one on the album. It's about to be released in about 3 weeks or so.
Okay.
I think that gives a really good snapshot of your expertise in production, though, because his songs, there's 10 on the album, correct?
There'll be 10 total, yeah.
And they're so diverse, and that it just really has pulled out every gift, I think, that he's even got in there
Yeah.
on the production. And plus he sang it himself. And so it was really good.
The approach is the approach that we do in the studio. If someone comes, if they have a full band, of course we work with their band. But if they're just a singer songwriter and they want something done, and depending on what genre of what they're doing, if it requires musicians, what I'll do is ask them to give me a rough recording, and I'll sit with it. I'll listen to it for a couple of weeks and get it into my soul. And then I'll bring them back in, and we'll talk about all the musicians that they want, what they're thinking, how do they want it to sound, and here's some of my ideas, and what do you think of these? And they can toss out what they don't like and correct me, but we get everything on a even playing ground so we understand each other. And then I will chart everything out and send it to the musicians and bring them in. And this is kind of how I did my album. I used the same musicians, the best ones that I appreciated for the little more aggressive music. There's a lot of country around here as well, and worship music, but this is not a worship album. It's a declaration, an energetic thing. So it's
He's actually
different.
naming his own genre. I think he's created something brilliant. It's
Call
called
it Christian confessional. Yeah,
Confessional
Oh, wow.
Rock.
confessional.
Okay.
rock.
I'm interested to hear this.
So,
Yeah. This sounds cool.
It's
I've
very
listened to yours that you sent me, and then I also listened to Holy of Holies, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I listened to that as well. She prefaced me like, hey, just letting you know, this is rock.
and it's based on experiences
Absolutely.
that she's had. Yeah.
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 So
I love to write music when I'm inspired, and so I have written a few out there. But
well, I'm excited to hear more of your music, and thank you
you.
both for coming on again today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for spending time with us. I really
I'd like to
appreciate
say
it.
something to you if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you're encouraging the entrepreneurs, I'm so inspired by what you're doing. I really am, because I think Eric and I have the same heart as what we're trying to convey is it takes relationship with your people, with your clients. And I don't know if that's gone away or if I've just missed it in
Yes.
today's fast-paced world. But that's what we're looking for, is to have a relationship with our clients and get to know our folks,
Yeah.
and care about. When I heard him talking about the studio and how much he cares for the music, that is true. And I thought the same way. I like that about, a person's finances. So I love what you're doing. one-on-one with folks. I think that's great. I know it will inspire so
Thank
many
you.
folks.
I think it's just, we live in a transactional world.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to business, I mean, it's very transactional. You approach people when you're in business and you're in those working hours with, what can I get from you? Or what do you want from me?
There you go.
And that's a very toxic mindset. Instead of thinking, oh, that person's a human. That person has human experiences like I have. And we never get to hear about those.
Right.
Because we're living in this transactional world and we all fall into it. I mean, I do. I walk into a grocery store, I go shopping, I have my head in my phone and I get my groceries. She rings it up and I keep going. Transaction. There's no how are you? There's no eye contact. And we all fall victim of that. But I think it's so much better when we talk, when we have those conversations, when we look someone in the eye, even if it's just for 20 seconds. How are you doing? That means the world to people. And so honestly, this is for those people who want to hear behind the scenes of some of their favorite business owners, or they can hear some of the stories like what you've said about, hey, I didn't know there was a college in Dallas that focused on bluegrass. I wish I would have done that. Now someone's heard that. Now they cannot make that same decision. If they feel the same way, they can go ahead and make that right decision. But also, this is for those people who just want something healthy to listen to. Because don't get me started on negative media. It's so toxic nowadays.
Yeah.
Don't turn on the news. Why? We know things are happening that's bad. What's good? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what's good. Let's talk about what people are actually doing, what their lifestyles actually are. Because whatever is showing on the news, my days don't look that bad.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. And so I want to highlight the good. And I'm honestly blessed and privileged to do this for as long as I can, because I enjoy having these conversations with y'all, and with people of all walks. I'm interested to get more people who are different too, just because I think it's interesting to experience cultures exactly where you are, if that makes sense. Like I've traveled over the world. I've traveled to Africa. I've traveled to Asia. But there are different cultures right here in Arkansas who I'm not necessarily conversating with because they're in different parts. I want to go to those parts, conversate with those people, see what their day-to-day lives look like here in America, even though they're not from here. Those are interesting conversations as well. And there are plenty of business owners who do that, whether it's like an Asian food truck or whether it's like a pizza place and they're not from here. I'm excited to have that conversation with some people who are from the UK who started a pizza place here. Just all different types of walks of life, opening up those doors. And just listening, educating, and also just enjoying listening to people have fun together. I hope that people who listen to this enjoy to hear what you guys had to say today. That's really, I know I enjoyed it just to sit and listen. I enjoyed it. And so I think when it comes from that standpoint, you don't, for us sitting here, you don't get worried about the and the buts and the long pauses. It doesn't matter. We're here to have a conversation. We're not here to perform for anybody. And we hope that people listening to this conversation enjoy it. Yeah. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. I told you one day at a networking meeting, he made a statement and I said, it took me 50 years to learn what he just said. And I meant that. You're very wise beyond your years.
Thank you so much.
I love what you're doing for your generation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all again.
I had
you.
a lot of fun too. Thank you so much.
Alrighty.